Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the GDO show this week. This week's going to be kind of similar in terms of last week. We're talking about food again. We're talking about my favorite foods again. Not my favorite foods, but favorite food for the topic, of course. And that's today's topic is going to be eggs and meats. And I decided to throw in potatoes too because I won't ever have any chance to talk about that again. And I mean, potatoes are they're such a small topic for me because I'm not a big fan of them. But anyway, we're going to be doing that, and then I'll get into next week, probably at the end, but I might touch a little bit on it. So hope you guys enjoy the show for this week. It's the GDO show. All right, so topic this week is eggs. And eggs are one of those things that are served like a billion different ways, like quite literally a billion different ways. You can make eggs however you want. Excuse any Windows sounds that happen for a sec. Um, so yeah, eggs, just cook them any way you want, but I feel like for breakfast, there's only a certain number of ways you can do it, and I mean it's like literally everything. Like I don't really make eggs any other meal unless you count quiche or something like that. But I probably won't be so much talking about that. I might throw that in because I mean that's something else. So I might actually just add that to the list because it's just one of those things. But I prefer less breakfasty things for that. So I mean that's just how it goes for that. So next week I'm going to be talking about cereal, and I don't really know how I'm going to do a show like that because differences between Canadian American brands are somewhat different, I guess you could say. Most things are the same, but what I've found is that although lots of things are the same, other things are different. So obviously mascots will be different, the boxes look different, kind of thing. The ingredients and makeup of the cereals might be different and stuff like that. So I don't really know how I'm gonna go about it. I could talk about stuff that I like, or I was thinking I could like throw up pictures of everything, but I mean I could walk up and down a store for like an hour taking pictures of all the different kinds of cereal and just kind of going on about it. So I don't really know how I'm gonna take care of that yet, but but I mean it could go any number of ways. So I'm probably gonna end up just figuring out like exactly what goes on with that. So um, either way, that's all I really had to say about that. I might touch on it again at the end of the show, and maybe give a better idea, or if people in chat give me suggestions, or throughout the week, I might ask people on Twitter exactly what kind of they want to see out of it, because I mean I could go on a little bit about each one, but I mean it's not really anything to talk about in depth. It's just kind of looking at like, I like Rice Krispies. This is why I like Rice Krispies, and it's like literally a minute discussion at most. And I mean, I don't eat a lot of cereal these days, so I can't really go on so much about it. But I mean, that's just how it works. Um, so what's been going on with me this week? Well, something out of the ordinary. I've been playing a lot of banjo-tooie this week, and normally it comes in spikes. I'm expecting it to not last a super long time because usually whenever I end up playing Tui for a while, I end up burning out of it again. But I've been getting more motivation to play from those around me. I've been watching new players learn the game and helping out and asking, if they want help or anything like that. It makes me want to talk about the game. And when I talk about the game, I just want to play the game. Like I just want to do it. Um, one of the uh, one of the TUI community members, Mumbo Token, has been doing a lot of practice lately, and watching him do it's just making me want to do it. And I'm a fiercely competitive kind of person, so when I watch someone else play the game, I just want to play the game. So that's been driving me to want to get better, improve some of my times. So I don't know, I've probably streamed Tui more in the last week than I have in the last little while, just because I've been streaming it like every day. Like I streamed it Monday, I streamed it Tuesday, I streamed it Wednesday. Well, I didn't stream it Monday, but I streamed it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Only for a little bit Thursday, but I don't know if I'll do it again tonight after the show's over, but probably not, but we'll see what happens. I might end up doing it tomorrow. So I don't know. Right now I'm just feeling like this big kick. And it's not just like I want to like just do the one category. It's like I want to play everything. Like 100% is like is cool and all, but I really want to practice like DCW, and I want to practice any percent, and I want to do all this and that, but it's like it's just so much to do. So I don't really know exactly what's going to be going on with that, but you know, hopefully I'll be able to keep it up. Like I would love to, because I love the audience I get when I stream Tui. So I mean, being able to do it is just like, I don't know, being motivated to do it, I guess is the better word, is just like, it's really nice to see. So hopefully I'll keep that going, and then maybe I'll try something new. Maybe I'll learn cheetah percent or something like that. But I really doubt I will. But you never know. Aside from Tui, I've been watching a lot of other stuff on Twitch. Been watching a lot of Bob Ross lately too, and I mean Bob Ross is like, it's a nice, relaxing, comfy stream. I used to watch all the Joy of Painting episodes in high school. So, like, just like being able to watch them now on Twitch is just really comforting, to be able to go and do that and just have it going in the background while you're thinking about something else. So, that's been a lot of the last week for me. I don't know if I've talked about this in any of the previous weeks, but I've been trying to lose a lot of weight lately. It comes and goes. Like I go into like these phases where I get like, I just don't care about what I eat and I eat everything, and then I go up to like 200 pounds, and then I just don't feel good, and I don't think I look good, and then I decide, you know what, I need to take it all off, and then I take it all off, and it takes like a half a year to do that, and then I hit my goal, and then I stop caring again, and I go back, and it's just like this never-ending cycle. So, just wanted to like touch base with those who cared about stuff like that. So, when I originally started this up, it was just after SGDQ, so it was like the very beginning of July. Like July 8th or 9th, I think I decided, which July, excuse me, July 8th is my birthday. So a couple days after that, it would have been maybe the 13th or 14th. I decided I needed to get back on the weight loss kick, so I started gymming, and I started cutting my diet out, trying to eliminate certain things. And since then, I've gone down quite a bit. The last time I jumped on a scale was the other day, and I don't have access to a scale at all, so I don't really know how to keep like track of like my weight week to week, because I know it's bad to like do it once a week, because then you like see that number, and I mean that number fluctuates, so it's good to take an average of a bunch of days for the week. But anyway, I'm down to 178 now, which is almost 20 pounds, a little more than 20 pounds, what I was when I started. So it feels good just seeing the changes happen. And the big worry for me is that the way I eat is usually really minimalistic. Like, I don't eat a lot, but then occasionally I'll get cravings to like eat a lot that last a day or two. And I know it like only takes like, calorie deficit to go down, but I don't eat a lot, so my metabolism runs really slow. And so, I don't know, I'm just worried about the way I'm going because I've lost almost all motivation to like gym. Basically, right now, 100% of my weight loss is coming from the food that I eat, not the amount of activity that I get. And so, I feel like it's not going to stick again. And I really would like it to, because it's one of those things that's like, it's a real pain in the ass to have to go through it every single time. So, I don't know. Part of me wants to, create that lifestyle change that's like, hey, if you like make it a thing to like gym, then you can do it. But then at the same time, I also like, you know, I have a lot of time that I spend at work and then a lot of time that I spend, streaming, and it's like, I don't know, and then a lot of time that I spend just chilling. And I kind of need all three to balance my mental health, I feel. So, I don't know, part of me needs to just sit down and like, get disciplined about it. But I don't know. It's just hard, so I was just sharing my thoughts on that one. The motivation to like keep eating like is the track that I'm going on right now. And I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things that's like you just gotta keep doing it, and eventually it'll eventually it'll stick on as it becomes like a lifestyle change. Simple one-offs, I feel, don't ever work. That's just how it's worked for me in the past. But it's quick and easy, but it just doesn't last. So, yeah. Breakfast part 2, explicit. Yeah, Atticus. So, that's pretty much how that's been going. So I didn't really have much else to say about that because I'm very unknowledgeable in terms of the ways to go about that. I just kind of share what I do, and that's pretty much all there is to that. So this is just a funny story before we get into this week's topic. Um, my Wednesday. My Wednesday was one of those days that I don't really want to relive again because oh, you mean to say explicit? I see what you did. Okay, Wednesday night. So Wednesday night was one of those days that I don't really want to go through again. So for those of you guys who don't know, I work in a grocery store, and one of my jobs in that grocery store is file maintenance, which is all basically signs and price management and stuff like that. And one of the things that I do for our store, and I'm the only person who does this, is every Wednesday night I work a graveyard shift from 10 to 5, 9:30 to 5, doing all of the weekly management for like the new sales and stuff. So I had to come into work at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And this is one of those things that's like, please don't make me do this, but I will if you really need me to. And I was really needed to. And so I got put in. So I thought, no big deal. I'll just come into work. I'll do stuff in the afternoon. And then in the evening, I will just go to sleep. So I do my shift. It's just a short one because I can't work like past a certain amount of time because otherwise I can't come in to do my second shift. And so I leave at 11 o'clock. So it's only like 7 to 11. And I come home and I'm doing fine because I mean it's morning, right? I'm not a morning person, but if I work in the morning, I'm awake. So I had something quick to eat for lunch, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do a TUI 100% run because I have time in the afternoon. So I'm just gonna do a run, and then when I'm done, I'll go to sleep, and then when I wake up, I will go to work. Just have a nap. So I do my run, and run finishes around 5:30 or 5. I don't remember when I cut stream that day, but it was around 5:30-ish. And I thought, okay, I have a little bit of time before 6, and then I can just go to work. So then it was brought to my attention that Haganator was on a run, a really good run. And I mean, yesterday he got his 2:03:56, and that was great. But this Wednesday run, he was on the pace for the first time. And it was one of those things that I just couldn't go to bed for. I was like, I need to stay up and watch this. And I'm not very disciplined in terms of like where I work, because when I work, I just go into work and that's it. Like, I don't care if I'm tired, I don't care if I'm sick. The only thing that keeps me out of work is a migraine. So by the time this is all done, it's like 8 o'clock, and I mean, his run died to something dumb and grunny. He missed the last beak bomb. So it's 8 o'clock, and I'm tired. I'm so tired. Like, because I'd been up since 6:30 to go to work that morning. And it's 8 o'clock, and I'm like, well, if I nap, if I nap for an hour, I'm going to be really tired for work, so I may as well just stay up at this point. So I decided to stay up. So 9 o'clock runs around, and it's time for me to go to work. And I enter the store around 20 after 9, and everyone looks at me and is just like, are you going to make it through the night? Because I look like I'm tired already. And normally when I work overnight, I only bring water with me, whatever. But I went straight to the energy drinks and bought an energy drink. And I bought a salad too, because I really enjoy eating Cobb salads from my work. So I was like, you know what, Cobb salad. For those of you guys who don't know what a Cobb salad is, it's I mean, it's on lettuce, but then it's got a ton of other ingredients on it. It's got egg on it, avocado, tomatoes, onion, bacon, blue cheese, and chicken. All that's just on top to mix into the lettuce. And it's very good. It's probably my favorite salad to eat. But anyway, I go buy an energy drink, and I go buy my salad, and I go buy a small bag of like chips or something to munch on at the beginning of the shift. And then I buy a Powerade as well, because I need to drink. Like, I had the energy drink, but I needed something else, because I mean, normally when I work overnights, I drink water and I drink Diet Powerade, because I need something in my system other than water. I have vertigo issues, and so if I only drink water and food, which is what I normally only ever do, I end up getting really dizzy. And the only thing I've done to prevent these vertigo swings are by drinking things other than water. Liquids that like have like either sugar or salt in them. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but all I know is that this is what fixes it for me. So shift's going okay. It's 1 a.m. and I'm about 3/4 done my work on the floor. Our store isn't open between 10 and 7, by the way, so I'm the only one in there. So I decide it's time to open my energy drink. And I don't know what happens to everyone when they drink energy drinks, but for me, and I've known this since high school, energy drinks and me don't mix because I get really, really wired off of energy drinks. So I chug half the energy drink like right off the bat, and then I like put a little paper lid over it just so it, all the carbonation doesn't quite escape. And then I go back to work. And within 25 minutes, I'm very awake. Like, I don't know if it's a placebo effect in the energy drink or whatnot, but I don't know. When I drink energy drinks, or I've never taken an energy shot, but when I drink energy drinks, I definitely just like can't stop moving. So I keep like working and I keep coming back and forth from the energy drink, and in the half hour I have it open, it's gone. And so I'm working, and now I'm done on the store, and like I'm really tired because my body is exhausted because at this point I've been awake for 19 hours. But I just want to run and jump and yell. Like that's just the feeling inside me. Like I'm coursing with this energy, but my body is just too tired to do anything. So my mind is like literally racing, but I just don't have energy to do anything. So now it's my part of the shift where I go eat. And I go up and I eat my salad and it's all good and stuff. And then I go into the office and now I have like 3 hours of office work to do. And sitting in the office was probably one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done. Because first off, the energy drink is starting to wear off. It's like almost 3:30 now. And like I'm starting to get really, really tired now because I've been awake for 22 hours. The energy drink that was giving me energy is now fizzling, and now I'm just sitting there being like, oh God, I'm so tired. So, after effect for me of drinking energy drinks, and I don't know if it's something in the energy drinks or if it's just me, but I start uh, having minor hallucinations. So it's not like, you hallucinate like anything big, but I'll start to see dots in the corner of my eyes, and I'll look because, it's something that shoots in the corner of your eye, but then it's something that isn't really there. So, because it's just in your eye, right? So I keep having to ignore these like little things, and it doesn't help because I'm sure everyone who's like seen me stream, or if you haven't, I wear glasses, and and when these little things appear from like the frames, like it makes it think that like there's like a fly or a bug there or something like that, and you look because you're like, it's a fly or a bug, and then it's not actually anything there. So you're just like, uh, and then you just kind of forget about it, and then it happens again like 10 minutes later. And so I was just trying to like ignore it. And that's just one of those things that like I really really hate. So, I mean, I haven't fallen asleep on stream in a really long time. That was only once, all right? But that I'd been streaming for almost 24 hours straight at that point too. After streaming 22 before that. So 4 o'clock rolls around, and I've ascended into that state that's hard to describe. It's your body is so tired you could instantly fall asleep when you hit the pillow, but your eyes can't shut. because they're wired open from whatever thing it is in the energy drinks that keeps you awake, the caffeine. So the caffeine is keeping my eyes awake. I can stay awake now. I've surpassed that being tired hump, and now I'm like fully awake, but I just want to die. And I was in this state for an hour and a half before my coworker showed up to do the morning stuff. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going home. I'm going home right now. I'm off. Bye. So I drive home, and my drive home is it's it's the same thing as when I was in the office. Like I'm not hallucinating these dots anymore, so that's good. But I'm still like in that spot where like you can't blink. Your eyes are just like stuck open. And I mean like it's really funny driving like that because you're clearly not paying attention to anything that's happening around you in your car, but you're fully aware of what's happening like at what you're looking at. So like you look at something and then you're like, "Oh man, I wonder how long I've been driving this fast." And then you like readjust your speed and you're like, "Oh my God, how long has this person been like right behind me? I should get in the other lane," kind of thing. So, I mean, it was, and then I got home and I went to sleep, and then I woke up and I went to sleep again, and then I woke up and then I did a stream. So it was like, it was just a really funny night. But it's definitely not something I want to do again, because energy drinks really mess me up, and I don't know, I just don't want to go through energy drink hell again. I mean, I know some people drink energy drinks like every day, but I just don't know how they do it. It's just, it's not a thing for me. Not a thing for me. Alright, so that was Wednesday night, so let's begin with the show. I know I had a really long intro, but it was just a bunch of things to talk about this week, so um, these next little bits will take up quite a bit of time, so it's whatever. So, eggs. Eggs are probably one of the most... I mean, no etiquette. If Hag didn't mess up his run, then I still would have watched it to the end. If he wasn't streaming at all, I probably would have gone to sleep and slept maybe 3 hours before my shift. And so it was, I don't know, it was the way it was. Hey, Polly. So, eggs. Eggs are probably the most consumed food. I know last week I talked a lot about, pancakes versus French toast versus waffles. And that was, I mean, in terms of put together food, French toast is probably my favorite to like make up for breakfast and eat. But by quantity, definitely eggs are the food I've eaten the most of in probably my life. Like, I eat a lot of eggs, and I don't eat them a lot, but when I do eat them, usually it's 2 or 3 at a time, and then, I mean, a couple times a week. Like, it just depends on what you're making. Eggs have various applications in terms of other food, for example, coating meat and stuff like that, but you don't really do that for breakfast so much. Like, it's more whenever you're breading something, breading chicken or breading pork or breading this and that, usually it's, one dip into flour, one dip into egg, one dip into breadcrumbs, and then you're good to fry. So that's your typical breading. But, I mean, you don't bread a whole lot of things that you make for breakfast, so I won't really talk about that. And, I mean, when you do that, you're not dipping it and saying this is part egg. You're just saying I'm just coating my meat in this so my bread will stick. It's a meat dish, not an egg dish. So I won't be talking about anything like that. I'll just be talking about like eggs as like the main stars of the show, and then other stuff that goes along with eggs. And then after that, again, we'll talk about meat and we'll talk about potatoes, but it'll all come eventually. So, first thing about eggs is, I mean, like, what are the eggs that you're using? So, I mean, it just depends on like how big you want your eggs. I prefer buying large size eggs because they're just the perfect size. You can buy extra large ones too. Extra large eggs I don't like buying because, I mean, usually when I do eggs, like, I mean, the large ones you can find usually cheapest, and then aside from that, like, I don't know, there's no reason to not buy an extra large egg unless you want like a big egg. If I'm making eggs and I just want like say sunny side up eggs or something like that, or I'm making eggs for a breakfast sandwich or something like that, usually I'll just buy large size eggs. But if you want like a lot of eggs, like you're doing a lot of breading or scrambled eggs, probably extra large size eggs. But yeah, so it for me it doesn't matter. I'm not very picky when I eat food. Like anything kind of goes. So I mean, if you're gonna get your free range eggs or free run eggs or large, extra large, medium eggs, it doesn't really matter. Or organic even, like it doesn't matter to me. They all kind of taste the same. I know that more fresh eggs have like the darker yolks and they're a little bit richer as well, but I mean to me it doesn't really matter. Where do I stand on ostrich eggs? I've never had an ostrich egg, but I mean, like, I'm sure an ostrich egg could feed a lot of people. I've just never had an ostrich egg. Usually, chicken eggs are just the way I go about it. I've never had any other egg, aside from like fish eggs, like salmon roe and stuff like that on sushi. But that's different. Those aren't like those aren't like yolky eggs. They're just they're just they pop in your teeth, definitely. Yeah. I mean, ostrich eggs are also very expensive because I'm sure like one ostrich egg is like the same as like 20 chicken eggs. So, clockwork eggs. Yeah, let's just steer back onto the topic of edible egg. um, so the number one way I like to prepare eggs is definitely scrambled, but I'll be getting to that uh, not now, but later on in the discussion because I don't feel like they're a top tier of egg. Um, First one I'll be talking about is the powerhouse of the egg family. This is the mitochondria of breakfast, if you will. Um, the and in my opinion, the best way to prepare an egg is 100% a poached egg. Poached eggs are not only really aesthetically pleasing to look at, but they're also really, really delicious. Because, like, poached eggs are like, they're like a nice bundle of everything that's good about an egg. Like, when you have eggs, you have, like, the yolk, and then you have the white. And depending on how you make the eggs, the whites are like they're either really spread out or they're mixed in or they're just there. Like when you make a poached egg or how you make a poached egg is you kind of keep the egg all together like but you still crack the egg. Like when you soft boil an egg or something like that, the egg is still nice and soft, but it's still in its shell. And when you crack an egg out, the egg just wants to splatter everywhere because an egg is still liquid inside when it's raw, obviously. And so it just wants to spread out, but at the same time it's like one togetherness of a thing. Like if you crack an egg, all the white will still be connected to all the other white. Like it'll drip out, but it'll stay as one entity. It won't just like separate everywhere as, some things do. So when you poach an egg, what you want to do is like I usually crack the egg into like a small bowl or something that'll keep the egg all nice and together. And then you need to boil this sort of in water. So, I mean, they carry like little dishes that you can use for poached eggs. So you grease out the inside of like this little plastic dish, and then you submerge the dish in water, in just barely simmering water. So, I mean, that's an easy way to keep it together. But if you're doing it just in a pot or something like that, you want to just like get some shallow water in a pot, crack the egg, and then you kind of want to swirl the water around so that the egg stays together. So when you gently like dump the egg from like whatever bowl you have it in into the water, you don't want it to go everywhere. So you kind of like use a fork or use, a spoon or whatever have you to kind of twirl the egg white around the yolk to kind of keep it all bunched together. It's really easy to buy one of those little plastic like poachers to like just throw that in the water and then it's good to go. But I mean, if you don't have one of those, then this is just like, I mean, how you do it. So again, you don't like cook it like on a surface. It's in a little bit of water, and you don't want to make it too hot either because otherwise the egg just cooks all together. And if you harden your yolk when you're doing a poached egg, you may as well just flip the oven. Like it's over. So barely simmering water, kind of throw it in there, and then just kind of just kind of let it sit for I think 5 minutes, 5, 6 minutes. It's been a long time since I've poached an egg because usually all the stuff that poached eggs are for are very, very fattening. I mean, you can poach an egg and have it on toast, but but I don't know. I'm not a big toast eater either. So so yeah, once your poached egg is done, you just take a slotted spoon, stick it in there, and then you slightly gentle it out. You want to be very careful with a poached egg because the yolk is like right there, and the egg white is still kind of wrapped around it, so it's like a perfectly like translucent white bundle of joy. And then your yolk is right inside, and you cut it out, and it runs all out, and it's all delicious and shit. But you want to wait until I mean, you're eating it for the yolk to burst open. Otherwise, it's just a mess everywhere. So, number one use of a poached egg, in my opinion, English muffin, whatever bacon or ham or cheese you got on there, and then poached egg and some hollandaise sauce. Eggs Benedict is, in my opinion, the most delicious thing you can make for breakfast with an egg. Um, Hollandaise sauce is like mostly butter if you're making it from scratch, but I mean, you can buy like a packet of hollandaise sauce and just make that up. I mean, it still like takes an arm and a leg worth of butter, but it's so worth. It's just so good. Um, Another thing you can do, like I said, is just kind of have some poached eggs on toast, and then once you got it all on your bread there, you just kind of put a knife through it. All the yolk kind of goes all over, and then you can, I don't know, garnish it with some green onion or something like that and eat that. Or you could even just like throw some bacon on some slices of bread, put some mayo on there, put your poached egg, and then just kind of let the yolk run free and let it all go through there. That's just how I prefer to do it. You can also put poached egg on other foods. Like eggs go on like every kind of food, but usually when I like to put eggs on like sandwiches and stuff, like I mean if you want to like put it on like a rice dish or something like that or a noodle dish or something that would benefit from having an egg, poached egg is definitely the way to go just because like I said, not only does it look perfectly picturesque, but also it tastes really delicious too. So, I mean, that's just the way to do it. All this talk about poaching eggs is making me want to go poach an egg right now, but I don't know. Again, it's not my preferred method of making eggs for myself, but it's definitely the most delicious. If I was making like traditional kind of, you know, eggs and toast and whatever have you breakfast, poached egg is the way to go. So, next next two things I'm going to lump together because this is the other side of boiling eggs is hard boiling and soft boiling eggs. When I was growing up, one of the things that my mom always made for me and my sister was soft boiled eggs because they're just so good. And Etiquette's IRL cooking stream would be really nice, but I would have to move my laptop for that, and all my cords are like all a mess. So that's why I haven't done it basically at this point. I would love to because my kitchen has the perfect setup to do an IRL cooking stream, but maybe one day we'll see. So, soft boiling and hard boiling eggs. Basically, a hard boiled egg is when you throw it in some water, let it boil, and then you take it out after a little bit, and then there's your egg. The yolk is hardened, so it's not runny anymore, and it's good to just throw in the fridge and save for another time. A soft-boiled egg, however, is the inside is still creamy, and the yolk is still runny. So, like the white is like fully hardened, but it's not quite all the way hardened. Like it it's it's solid, but it's not like you have to like, try to get it out of there. So soft-boiled eggs are usually served still warm. Um, there's two ways, in my opinion, to eat a soft-boiled egg. First off, you need an egg cup because to eat a soft-boiled egg, you're not peeling all the shell. You're just kind of cutting off the top third of the egg, or like the top quarter of the egg, and you're scooping out the inside with a spoon. So, like, in order to eat it, you need to be able to keep the egg upright. And in order to do that, like, the only real way you can do it is with an egg cup. It's just like a little standing cup that has, like, the spot for one egg in it. Or you could take, like, a little bowl and put some rice in it and just kind of use the rice to keep the egg upright. Because otherwise, like, touching a hot egg is really, really hot. Like, when eggs are hot, they get really hot. And because the shell of an egg is like, it's like calcium based, like it holds the heat in pretty well. So if you want to burn your hands off, go ahead and try and do it by hand, but then the yolk spills everywhere and you'll get it all over your hands anyway. So you just kind of take an egg cutter or a knife and just kind of cut off the top a bit. Just give it a little chunk to cut it off. You don't want to cut into the yolk, just the top part of the white, and then just take that off. Take a spoon, scoop out the inside of the egg, and just eat it like that. Good way to do it for me particularly, because I like salt with eggs, is just kind of sprinkle a little bit of salt on each bite. Just kind of sprinkle a little salt in the egg hole, scoop it out with a spoon, and then do the same until the egg's done. So, soft-boiled eggs. What you want to do is you want to boil the water first. Then you want to put the eggs in and cook them for around 5 minutes if you want them a little on the creamier side, and up to 7 if you want them like not. These are the times that I use particularly, but I don't eat a whole lot of soft-boiled eggs anymore just because I don't have any small bowls that I can use for my egg cup. So yeah, usually around 5 or 6 minutes is usually, I would say, the max for me. Hard-boiled eggs, however, you want to cook them differently because with soft-boiled eggs, you just want basically the egg to be flash cooked. Like you want it cooked as fast as possible in that boiling water so that it's nice and hard on the outside, but the inside is warm and hot, but still runny and not hard. With a hard-boiled egg, you want to slowly ease the heat into the egg so that you're heating it up, but then you also want it cooked all the way through so that nothing is hard anymore. And so to do that, what you need to do is put the eggs in the water while they're still cold, then raise the water until it just starts boiling with the lid on, obviously. Well, I mean with the lid off, it doesn't really matter. And then once the water has just started boiling, put the lid back on, remove it from the heat entirely, and let it sit for around 9 minutes. Because if you let it go anywhere from 8 to 9, but no more than 10, it's just a nice egg. And then after that, usually I dunk them like immediately from the hot. I just immediately dunk them in a cold water bath just to cool them down. And then from there, they're good to eat. Um, you can either like peel them immediately because you just take all the shell off of a hard-boiled egg and then do that, or you can slice it up and make egg salad. And egg salad sandwiches are a really good breakfasty thing. I mean, you can eat egg salad for any meal, really, but I don't know. Egg salad sandwiches I always consider breakfasty. Just like mash up, 6 or 7 hard-boiled eggs, throw in some green onion, throw in some mayonnaise, throw in maybe a little chili powder or paprika, and then mash it all together, and then spread it on some bread and eat that. You can also throw some onion in there too. I usually like white onion with egg salad. Or, I mean, you can just like cut onions into rings and stuff like that instead of chopping it up and throwing it in there, and then just have it on a bread with some salt and pepper or something like that. That's generally the only way I usually like eating hard-boiled eggs, is making it into egg salad. Or if you want, you can take a wrap and put it on a wrap. Like, just kind of take a hard-boiled egg, just one egg, and just cut it up and kind of not mash it, but just like cut it up into pieces and throw it on a tortilla with some ham, and then there you got a good ham and egg wrap. So that's only what I do if I have a lot of eggs that like are about to go. Like if I look at my fridge and go like, man, I haven't eaten eggs in a long time and I have like 8 or 9 eggs that need to be eaten like tomorrow, I'll just hard boil all of them at the same time and then just throw them in my fridge, and then they'll be good to go for a little while. The reason why I throw hard-boiled eggs in a cold water bath when I take them out is because they're very easy to overcook, and because the heat stays in so well because of the shell, eggs will keep cooking after you take them off the heat. So in order to prevent them from continuously cooking, the cold water bath kind of stops it, so you don't like get green yolks. Because if you cook a yolk past like hard boiled, it'll get kind of green on the outside, and you don't want to see that. It doesn't taste bad, but it doesn't taste as good as a nice bright yellow yolk or a nice bright orangey yolk if you're going for that kind of thing. So now we're gonna get into the less picturesque eggs. this is where like other things will come in. If I'm eating just an egg with nothing else, poached egg is definitely the best way to go for that. If I'm adding something to it, like maybe a little salt or maybe another ingredient like hard-boiled eggs need like mayo or whatever, definitely go hard-boiled, soft-boiled. So now we're gonna get into like kind of more needy things. Um, these are more things that I just use to like either make breakfast look a little happier or maybe a little more flavorful. So first off is the traditional sunny side up egg. Um, Sunny side up egg you can just serve as is, no problem there. It depends on how you want your yolk. If you want it a little harder, you'll want to put the heat on a little lower, and if you don't, then maybe a little higher. I like cooking eggs, like all eggs, on medium-low heat because otherwise your egg cooks too fast, and it doesn't like. If your egg cooks too fast, it still tastes raw on the egg white, but like your egg will be nice and crisp on the bottom, but it'll still be kind of gooey on the top, and that's definitely not like pleasing when you eat an egg. Because I really don't like eating raw eggs, but I mean I have definitely cooked a lot of raw eggs. Um, so sunny side up is you definitely need a low heat in order to do sunny side up because otherwise the top of your egg just doesn't cook all the way through. So sunny side up is usually just like I would never cook an egg just to eat an egg sunny side up. For me, like for me, it's one of those eggs that I would always put on toast 100% of the time, or use toast. Or if you're having toast or pancakes or anything like that, uh, specifically pancakes, I would have sunny side up eggs, just because then you can crack the yolk and let it run all over your egg, and then you can use your toast or pancakes to like kind of mop up the egg and eat it, and it just tastes so good. Like this is making me really really hungry for eggs, so I'm probably gonna end up going to eat eggs for dinner right after the show. Um, I have stuff to make an omelet, so I might go ahead and do that because I'll be getting to that. So so sunny side up is definitely the picturesque way to do it. When everyone thinks of like a traditional, eggs and toast and, bacon kind of breakfast, sunny side up is always like featured because the nice bright shining yolk is like the sun's up, it's the start of a new day. Why not enjoy a nice sunny side up egg to enjoy your time with? So, sunny side up egg, definitely a staple for most breakfasts. Now, the way that I do the sunny side up egg, which is not really sunny side up anymore, is an over egg. So, two ways that are pretty straightforward to do the over egg. You got your over easy egg, and I don't even know the name for this, I just call it over hard. So, if you take a sunny side up egg and flip it over and let it sit there for maybe 10 seconds, you have yourself a really nice over easy egg. It's basically the sunny side up egg, except you're taking that top picturesque egg and you're flipping it over and you're cooking it for like just enough time to get the top of it all hard. So if you're ever unsure about an uncooked sunny side up egg, flip it and then there you go. The only thing to worry about an over easy egg is if you flip it too hard, or if you like poke the underside of it too hard, then you'll burst the yolk, and then that's bad. Because to make an over easy egg, you want to flip the egg, but you don't want any of the yolk to be hardened at all. You just want to harden the egg white. So usually to flip an egg that I'm doing over easy, I'll take some tongs or something like that, and I'll use that to kind of settle the egg down so you can like press, so you can like kind of easily and gently push the yolk onto the surface of the frying pan. So otherwise it just turns into an over hard egg, which is the same as an over easy, except with an over hard egg it doesn't really matter like how you flip it. Like an over hard egg is how I prefer to make a lot of breakfast sandwiches, because I'm not a messy eater. When I pick up a breakfast sandwich that has egg in it, I don't want egg yolk spilling all over my hands. And I know that it tastes really good, and I'll even admit I would rather have an egg yolk that's nice and gooey and creamy and still liquid, because it just tastes way better. But I don't like having to wash my hands after like every bite just to like get the stickiness off my hands. So for an egg yolk, it's like I would rather cook it like a minute longer, and then basically your yolk is like solid the entire way through. And it's definitely not for everyone. Like everyone kind of has their own idea of like of how they want to do an egg like that. So, I mean, if you want the softer yolk, just flip it over for a minute. If you don't want a softer yolk, flip it over for, well, not an extra minute, like an extra 10 seconds. If you want the harder yolk, flip it over for a minute. Or if you're starting an egg with the purpose of making an over easy egg, then it's good to turn up the heat and then flip it, because if the heat is higher, then you won't have to worry about it, because if you're cooking the egg on one side, you're only worried about cooking it halfway, because then you're flipping it. So sunny side up, low heat, well, low to medium. Over easy, it doesn't really matter. Over hard, definitely a higher heat. I would use maybe medium, but I would never ever cook an egg on high. There's no reason to ever cook an egg any higher than medium heat. Okay, so those are eggs just as like simple eggs. And now we get into my favorite way to prepare eggs, and that is an omelet. So omelets are, in my opinion, the best way to serve an egg like dish, because I don't know, I grew up making omelets for myself, and it's just so easy to make an omelet. So obviously the first way to go about omelets is the Western omelet, which is probably the easiest way to make an omelet. Um, you might end up making scrambled eggs, but given your omelet skills, but I mean, Western omelet is definitely like really good way to go about an omelet. So to make a Western omelet, basically what you need to do is, first off, you crack some eggs in a bowl. Usually when I make an omelet, I always crack 3 eggs. Unless I'm really hungry, then I might crack a 4th one. So 3 eggs, and then you whisk them all together. Usually I use a fork. It doesn't matter if you use a whisk, use a fork. You use whatever you want to make. So you get those all together, whisk them up, and then you need to think about what you want in your omelet. Now, if you're only making eggs in a Western omelet, then you need to kind of think about your life a little bit, because eating just eggs in an omelet is really boring. It depends on what kind of omelet you're making, but for me personally, um, a Western omelet always has peppers in it, and some sort of cheese. Like that's just me. My grandpa when he used to make omelets for me when I was a kid, I think every single time he always put in tomato, just a little bit of fried tomato, some fried diced up peppers, and maybe ham or bacon. My personal favorite thing to put in an omelet is red pepper, and I really hate peppers, but I like peppers in omelets. Peppers and mushrooms and bacon. I don't eat a lot of bacon these days, but bacon bits sprinkled in an omelet along with some chopped up mushrooms and peppers is just like to die for. So what you do is you take all your ingredients, so your cooked bacon, your peppers, and your mushrooms. You fry them up in a frying pan. Throw in a little bit of butter just to promote the non-stickiness. And then you'll want to throw in your egg. Just throw all of the egg in. And then kind of push it around a little bit to make sure that the bottom isn't, to make sure that you're getting egg. Or you can just leave it, let it sit. Sprinkle some cheese on one half of your omelet, and then just take one side of it and fold it over. And then maybe you want to flip it to do the other side. Depends on the heat you're cooking on. Usually when I do omelets, I still cook on medium low, just because it's just how I do eggs. I don't know what the exact proper heat is for a Western omelet, but I just kind of make it up as I go. Fold it over once, and then just serve it on a plate. There you go. I usually put a little hot sauce in mine, or on top of mine, a little Frank's Red Hot sauce or some Tabasco sauce, and there you have a perfectly delicious omelet. So, main key for that is you only want to fold it over once, so it's like a nice picturesque omelet. And again, you can put as much as you want on it. You don't want to put too much in it, or else the egg won't be able to flip, and you'll get a crack in the seam of your omelet. So usually you want to not put so much in it. Another main key for a good omelet flip is you don't want to cook the egg too long, because if you cook the egg for too long or for too high a heat, your egg will solidify on the bottom before you have a chance to flip it, and when that happens, your egg just cracks in half, and then that's the end of your omelet. So, I mean, you can still eat it like that. It still tastes the same. It just doesn't look as good for, an Instagram picture or something like that. And I don't know, when I make food, I love posting pictures of it on like Instagram and stuff like that, because everyone loves to see like little photos. I haven't done that in a really long time, but but yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. The other way to go about it is the French omelet, and French omelet, in my opinion, it's just like, oh, it's a nice creamy omelet. Like in a Western omelet, you want to throw all this shit in a pan and then fold it over, and then you put lots of cheese in it, and it just gooey's out, and it's really delicious. With a French omelet, I usually put a little bit of cheese in my French omelets because I like a cheesy omelet. But for a French omelet, I don't usually throw anything in it other than just the egg, because that's just the way it's made. So there's only two real differences between, well, I guess there's a bunch of real differences between them, but the for the French omelet, the thing you need to remember about it is that you need to fold it a little differently as well. So when you whisk your eggs together, it's still the same number of eggs as you would for the Western omelet, but you want to have a really, really buttered pan. So first off, I would put a little bit of oil in the pan. Maybe I like using canola oil. It's not the healthiest oil to use for cooking, but I mean you can also use like a vegetable oil or a peanut oil, but if you have allergies, then maybe not peanut oil. I don't like avocado oil because I just don't like the way it tastes, but a lot of people do. So I use canola oil because it's just a good all-purpose oil. Just a little bit of canola oil in a pan just to get it nice and hot. And then after that, throw in a good chunk of butter. Like you don't want enough butter to I mean, you don't want a lot of butter, but you want enough butter to be able to coat the entire bottom of the pan with like a little bit of butteriness, because otherwise your omelet's going to have a really tough time. So, what you want to do is take your egg and dump it into the bottom of your frying pan. And if you're not using a non-stick frying pan, then God help you, you're going to have problems, because non-stick frying pans, one of the only things, I mean, I use my non-stick frying pan for everything because it's the only one I have. And I mean, I have another one, but I use that for meat mostly. But for eggs, non-stick frying pan. If you don't have that, then put in more oil, put in more butter, because you're going to have a tough time. So, egg in the pan. Then what you want to do is you want to kind of shuffle it around with a spatula until it gets non-liquidy anymore. So again, you want to cook it on a lower heat. Just kind of push it around, let curds form up, and let like little chunks. And then when all the liquid is almost all done, you kind of want to press it all flat against the surface so it's still gooey and like undercooked, but just so that it's all one big mass. And then instead of being a flat thing of eggs like you would in a Western omelet, instead you have this big mass of like cheese curds everywhere. So this is the point at which you would throw in a little bit of cheese if you want that, but you don't need to throw in anything if you don't want to. So let it cook for about a minute. Just don't touch it. Don't touch it. That's the easiest part to mess up here. And then the last thing you want to do is, once it cooks for just a little bit, you don't want it cooked all the way through because you want the egg to be a little creamy on the top, but you still want it to be cooked on the bottom. So what you want to do is you want to tilt your pan up so that you can fold your egg over once and then fold your egg over a second time. And it should be like this nice, tight, little wrapped bundle of joy. And then with whatever cheese you put in it if you decided to. Again, I usually don't put cheese in it. Sometimes I'll put some on top, but you can put it in. I just don't do it very often. And if you do, a very sharp cheddar is usually the way to go for me, because eggs are really bland tasting without anything in them. So in both cases, for the omelets, after you whisk up the eggs, I would throw in a little bit of salt and pepper, and usually just salt and pepper for me, and then just kind of do it like that. Thank you for the host, T-Gump. I hope you enjoy the breakfast talk. So that's pretty much the difference between French omelet and a Western omelet. I don't have any pictures up to show the difference of the two, but know that one is folded over just once, and the other one is kind of, it's not really rolled, but it's folded over twice. So you take like a third of it and fold it over, and then you take the other bit and fold it over again. And it's just like this nice wrapped egg dish. So it's definitely nice and like really warm on the inside to eat, because I don't know, I really like eating omelets. Omelets are usually the way to go for me. So the last little egg dish I had to mainly talk about is scrambled eggs. And if you mess up your omelet, like if you go to flip it and it cracks or it falls apart or this or that happens, bam, you can easily turn it into scrambled eggs in one step, and that's to just mess it up. Just cut up the egg, just push it all over your pan, and bam, you have scrambled eggs. um, Scrambled eggs are obviously a little more complicated than that, because if you make scrambled eggs and don't care how they turn out, your scrambled eggs will be very dry tasting usually, because egg overcooks really fast. And if you want fluffy eggs, you need to be able to know when you need to take them off the heat. Now, I personally don't mind having my eggs be a little on the drier side. The only problem with scrambled eggs that I have is that a lot of eggs turns into not a lot of scrambled egg. Because when you have a cracked egg and you make like a sunny side up egg or something like that, or you make an omelet or whatever, the dish is usually fairly large because it's something spread out. It's like a flat thing that you make, right? But when you scramble eggs and you cook a lot of the moisture out of them, the eggs get really small because an egg isn't that big. Like an egg makes very little scrambled eggs. So when you make scrambled eggs, if you want enough for like more than 2 or 3 people, you'll probably be using an entire carton of eggs. But I mean, it just depends on what else you're having. If you're only having scrambled eggs, then you also want to probably throw some stuff in there too. So first off, scrambled eggs are something that definitely goes well with every other ingredient. If you can think of something that you think, I wonder if I could throw this in my frying pan, you could, and it would go well with your scrambled eggs. So you throw in your mushrooms, you throw in your pepper, you throw in your ground sausage or whatever, you throw in your bacon, and then when you're all done, you throw in the egg, and then you just toss it all together and make sure all your egg is cooked, and then you just kind of dump it onto a plate, and there's your scrambled eggs. So, I mean, scrambled eggs is definitely the way to go if you don't know how to make a proper omelet, because it's impossible to mess up scrambled eggs. The only way you can mess up scrambled eggs is if you cook your eggs on like really high heat. And the other way you can mess up your scrambled eggs is if you don't have oil in your pan or butter in your pan or something like that. Because if you have to scrape the egg off the bottom of the frying pan, that egg is 100% too dry. And you will take bites of it thinking, man, this egg is pretty dry. So, scrambled egg. Um, Again, cheesy scrambled egg is usually a good way to go about scrambled eggs because with scrambled eggs, it's like, I don't know, it's just a vehicle to eat other foods. For me anyway, because if you want to put too much stuff in your eggs, you're probably not going to be able to flip an omelet properly. So yeah, definitely the way to go with that one is just skip straight to the scrambled part, throw it in, and then it goes so well with a lot of other things. Because you can eat scrambled eggs as they are, just on a plate, no big deal. And again, eggs go really well with hot sauce for me, so I would throw in some hot sauce or whatever like that. But one of the best ways for me personally to eat scrambled eggs are take some toast, and what you want to do is on your toast, you want to spread some salsa on it. So just like a thin layer of whatever salsa on toast. And then on top of the salsa, throw on some scrambled eggs. And you can eat it with your hands. It's a little messy. You can eat it with a fork. It's an open-faced thing, so you don't want another piece of bread on top. But it's just toast, salsa, eggs. And then you just eat that, and it tastes really good. Obviously, I would probably cook my toast a little bit to the crispier side because I really like deeply crispened toast. Like, it's not quite burnt, but it's like the next step down from burnt. Like, it's definitely past golden brown. It's like golden blackened is like the word for it, but it's not quite burnt yet. It's like one hue less of burnt. So do that just so it doesn't like get soggy by the salsa so much, and then your eggs will just go on top of it, and then there you go. You got a nice good breakfast treat there. Um, okay. Last egg thing I'm going to talk about, and I know the egg discussion went by really quickly, but it's just how it goes, is quiche. Now, quiche is quiche is like a next level up because you're not just cooking the egg, but you're preparing like basically a pie. So for those of you guys that don't know what quiche is, in its simplest form, quiche is eggs baked into a pie crust. And then you have other stuff in there too. So you take a pie crust and then you take whatever ingredients you want and then you throw them in the pie crust, and then you take scrambled eggs, well, not scrambled eggs, but you take beaten egg, and then you fill up the rest of the pie crust with your scrambled egg, and then, or your beaten egg, duh, and then you put it in the oven, bake it, and out comes a quiche. And the really interesting thing about quiche that I like is that everything that goes together can go in a quiche. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of quiche are real different because it's up to the creativity of the maker. For example, when you're making a pie, you can throw any ingredients you want in a pie crust and it would probably taste okay. Like, you can, as long as it's sweet kind of thing. I mean, you can make non-sweet pies, but I mean, this is just an example. So, I mean, you got apple. Then you have strawberry, or you can throw in strawberry apple, or you can throw in this and that and this and that. But the thing about quiche is that it's really savory because it's an egg. You don't want a sweet egg unless you're, Japanese sweet egg. So my favorite things to throw in quiche are obviously breakfast foods because I think they go really well with eggs, but you can throw anything in. Back in 2009, I went through a quiche making phase where I experimented with a lot of different ways to make quiche. So a bunch of the main things you need to remember for quiche are that the things you throw into the pie shell need to be already cooked because you're not cooking the ingredients in your pie shell, you're cooking the egg. And egg does not take a long time to cook. So, probably my favorite thing to make a quiche out of is bacon and cheddar and ham. It's nice and simple. It's basically a breakfast quiche. Like traditional breakfast quiche. Like you throw in some really sharp cheddar cheese, some cubes of ham or some slices that are all broken up and stuff like that, and then some bacon bits, and then you just dump in your egg, and then there you go. Nice put together quiche. Another thing that I really like doing is mushrooms. So, I mean, mushrooms and eggs are just two things that just automatically go together for me, like 100% of the time. So, you throw in some mushroom, you throw in some roasted, or not roasted red pepper, but just some like chunks of red pepper that you fried up, and you just kind of dump them in there with your egg, and it's just an easy mushroom and pepper quiche. Or you can go another way. For example, if you have some asparagus, you can steam some asparagus, and then cube some ham up and fry that. And then I would just cut the asparagus into like little chunks, small chunks, like very bite-sized, like not quite like super chopped, I guess. And then just kind of throw those in a frying pan with some salt and pepper. And then once you've cooked them enough, then you can throw them in your pie crust and then throw the egg around it. There's a lot of different things that you can do quiche with. Like you can throw in like chilies and stuff like that and make more spicy quiches. Like you can make themes. Like I mean, basically the bottom line for a quiche is it's a pie crust with egg and then whatever else that you want to throw in there. As long as it doesn't taste disgusting with egg. Like if it's something that's really wet and it'll make the egg really moist so it won't cook real properly, then you probably don't want to throw that in there. But I mean, you can get like really creative. Let's I'm gonna go online and like quickly look up a bunch of quiche ideas because I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do quiche. So let's see, Food Network 25 savory quiche recipes for easy entertaining. So there's like uh, just a bunch of herbs and vegetables. So it's like a vegetarian quiche kind of thing. Uh, what else do we have? Cheddar and pancetta and thyme, and these are like little mini tarts. And then you have ham, tomato, and Swiss. And then there's a quiche Lorraine, which I'm not exactly what goes in a quiche Lorraine, but it looks like sun-dried tomatoes. A layer of bacon topped with eggs, so it's just bacon and eggs, I guess. I mean, I guess you could do sun-dried tomato. Turkey and stuffing quiche, so you just throw in some turkey and sage and some stuff. Goat cheese and prosciutto. Brie and broccoli. Uh, Wild mushroom Asiago. Vegan quiche tarts with red pepper relish. I guess that would have a different pie crust since you couldn't use butter in it. Zucchini and goat cheese. Like basically, for me, just it's like pick a cheese that goes well with your meat, and then egg, and whatever else. Like you could just go through this list. Like there's leek and Gruyere. There's cowgirl quiche, which is like they called that, and it's got like fresh herbs, prosciutto, and Swiss cheese. Pizza quiche, which is like it looks kind of goopy. I don't know if I'd like that one, but I mean, like mushrooms, caramelized onions, corned beef and cabbage, mushroom and grits, sausage and herb, uh, spinach and feta kind of thing. Like it's up to your imagination. Like quiche is definitely, and it's a big pie, right? So you'll want to cut slices out of it too. So I mean that's just the way to go for that. So the last thing I had to mention aside from quiche was like little condiments, and I kind of talked about this as I go. Um, the top three things for me that go with eggs. First off, I really enjoy chili powder on eggs. So if I'm making a sunny side up egg, or if I'm making an egg for a breakfast sandwich, or if I'm making scrambled eggs, or if I'm making any egg dish, I will almost 100% of the time sprinkle some chili pepper on before, or chili powder, not chili pepper, chili powder on before my egg comes out, because it gives the egg just that really nice chili taste that I just really, really enjoy. So for me, chili powder, it's not for everyone, but it's just how it goes. Number two, cheese. I really like sharp cheddar with eggs because, again, it cuts through the blandness of the egg. But also mozzarella cheese if you're making scrambled eggs because it makes them a little gooier. But it also makes them really oily too, so you kind of want to avoid using a lot of that. But I just like the taste of it. Last thing, I really enjoy hot sauce with eggs because, again, anything that's like salty and spicy to cut through the blandness of an egg. So that's just pretty much the way that goes. So that's all I had to say about eggs. If anyone had anything to add to that, I can obviously talk about it next week, but I mean, I don't really think anyone else can really ask too much about eggs other than that. How I like my eggs is very dependent on what else is on my plate. If it's just eggs that I'm focusing on and I want to maybe throw some stuff in there, it will almost 100% of the time be scrambled eggs just because it's easy to just throw eggs in a pot or eggs in a frying pan, throw some other vegetables in and go like, okay, there's your scrambled eggs. Okay, next topic I was gonna get a talk on. I just wanted to throw this in today because I didn't have a lot of reason to make it its own episode because I can't talk about this forever because there's only so many different ways you can do this. Is breakfast meats. Um, Breakfast meats are they're I mean, you can eat them for any meal, really. I mean, a lot of people just kind of throw them in for breakfast because that's just the way they fit. For me in particular, I would always throw these in on breakfast talk because, I mean, it's just what you think of. So, first off, I wanted to talk about sausages, specifically bratwurst sausages and pork sausages. Um, So, for pork sausages, they have something that you can buy in every grocery store that are just called breakfast sausages. And these are like small, skinny little breakfast sausages that are like tiny, and I really don't like breakfast sausage because breakfast sausage to me is I don't know, it just doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. Like you can buy a lot of like different kinds of breakfast sausage. Like some of them have maple flavor and some of them are flavored with honey and cranberry if you find that around like Thanksgiving and Christmas time and stuff like that. But I'm just not a huge fan of breakfast sausage. For me, mild Italian or hot Italian sausage are usually the way to go because they're a little something that's a little spicier. Um, Ground sausage, not so much, because I mean, with ground sausage, you can form them into like sausage patties, and then with the sausage patties, you can kind of fry them and you can put them on breakfast sandwiches and stuff like that. So, I mean, it just kind of depends. Like, if you have some mild Italian sausage, I don't eat a lot of hot Italian sausage because my body reacts very poorly to spicy things. So, usually mild Italian sausage is the way to go for me, and then just kind of form it into little patties with a little bit of breadcrumb to keep it all together, and then there you have it. Or you can just keep the patty together. It depends if you have some sort of mold to keep it all together as well. For bratwurst sausages, I'm not a huge informant on how different sausages are made, so I'm not exactly sure the different makes up of sausages. I've never made sausages myself either, so it's just one of those things that's like just it is how it is. Like breakfast bratwurst sausages, I would definitely consider more of a dinner thing. Uh, I mean, you can eat whatever you want for any meal, but I don't know. For me, usually the way to go is just mild Italian sausage. The big deal. Um, Bacon is obviously another really big one, and there's a bunch of different hot takes on bacon. I personally prefer thick cut bacon over regular bacon, and I mean, it all depends on what you're using it for. For example, if I'm using bacon to slice up and use for bacon bits, 100% of the time I will only use thick cut bacon for that. Because otherwise, like the bacon just kind of I don't know, it's just bacon's really fatty, and so when you cook it, it gets really thin, and I feel like that doesn't make for like a good bite when you're adding it to like salads and stuff like that. Specifically to, or omelets with in respect to the breakfast talk. Like I mean, making little bacon bits for Caesar salad and stuff like that is usually, really good to go. If I'm making bacon for just a traditional breakfast, like toast and eggs and bacon, I will usually buy the non-thick cut bacon and then just kind of fry that up. Another hot take, which I might have a lot of people behind me for, but not really, is I really don't like flavored bacon. There's a lot of bacon that you can find in grocery stores that's like maple flavored, or it's got like some sort of glaze on it, or it's got like got stuff on its edges. Like before it was sliced, it had like a bunch of like jalapeno stuff or pepper stuff on it. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not a big fan of candied bacon either. So like any bacon that's kind of baked with like brown sugar on it or anything like that. For me, I just like regular just regular strips of bacon. Smoked bacon is a different topic than flavored bacon. Because I mean, it's smoked, so like the bacon has like a seep of flavor into it from the smoke that it was used. But again, it just depends on what it is. Like I've tried a lot of different kind of smoked bacon, and Maplewood smoked bacon is, as long as it doesn't have any sort of glaze on it, I like that hint of maple that's like been smoked into the bacon. Um, My grocery store sells a bacon called corn cob smoked, where instead of using wood to smoke the bacon, they use corn husks, and the the subtle corn taste that seeps into the bacon is just really really nice. Like I mean, it's really weird eating the bacon and thinking like this tastes like corn, but it's just exactly how it goes. Um, If I'm using the bacon for anything, I obviously don't want any of that. Applewood and Maplewood smoked bacon is usually my number two, one and two things to go because I really like the taste of Applewood, and Maplewood is just a little hint sweeter. Obviously, the corn cob smoked, I would never put that in something, but I mean, it's good as it is, just as bacon. So like, it's that whole like toss up whether or not it's like, well, the bacon would taste really good on its own, or if would the flavor ruin something that was put into, kind of thing. So yeah. Um, and again, thick cut bacon is usually the way I go because I mean, bacon itself is really tough, and then when you combine it with the fat, it's nice and flavorful and good. I like my bacon crispier, on the crispier side. And when you cook thick cut bacon longer, it usually gets really chewy. And that's not something I'm a huge fan of when it comes to bacon. So, I mean, usually I'll cook thick cut bacon, not very much, but again, it does get a little chewy. So, for the most part, thin cut bacon for just your regular bacon consumption, thick cut bacon for bacon bits and stuff. It's all in context. Um, there isn't really a whole lot to say about regular bacon, um, but then we have Canadian bacon, and Canadian bacon is like Canadian bacon is one of those things that's just not. I don't know. Canadian bacon is like it's basically ham. like like let me I don't even know like what part of the what part of the animal Canadian bacon comes from, but well, of course, duh. Canadian bacon, another word for Canadian bacon is back bacon. There we go. It comes from the back. So like whereas regular bacon comes from like the front or the sides, like back bacon comes from the back. And I mean, back bacon is it's it's definitely a lot more like ham than it is bacon because I mean, I can't really describe it. Like a lot of Canadian bacon is wrapped in like this cornmeal or pea meal, which is like ultra fine cornmeal. And pea meal back bacon is usually like found a lot around here, but I don't know, like I I would never use back bacon for anything other than like a breakfast sandwich. Like if you go to McDonald's and you order a ham and egg McMuffin or something like that, the meat that you get on a ham and egg McMuffin is basically back bacon. Like, I can't really call it anything other than just ham because that's all it really is. It's not very fatty either, so it doesn't have like the same kind of it doesn't have the same kind of consistency as regular bacon, but at the same time, like I don't know. It's really hard to talk about it because a lot of people like if you don't know what Canadian bacon is, then you're not gonna get a picture in your head of what it is. The only thing I can say is Google Canadian bacon, and you'll see that it's literally just ham. So, I mean, I personally don't like it. It's fine. I mean, it tastes the same as ham does. It's like it's just meat, but at the same time, it's like it's not as pleasing to eat just because of its really low fat content. But that's just me. So, speaking of fat content, the next breakfast meat that I wanted to talk about is Spam. And I know that not a lot of people enjoy Spam. In fact, I'm sure a lot of people like absolutely despise the look and taste of Spam. But it's actually not that bad. Like if you've never had Spam before and someone said, "Here, try some Spam," like it's perfectly normal to assume that you'd be like, yeah, no thanks, just because it looks kind of gelatinous. But if you slice it real thin and fry it, it gets really crispy and really delicious. Like, it's definitely one of those things that you would only ever eat like once a year, maybe. Like for me, growing up, it was a camping food. Like when we went camping, it would be like, all right, let's just take out like the mini, the mini oven or whatever, and then make some eggs on it and some Spam or bacon. And Spam is really oily. So if you cook Spam on an oven or on a frying pan, and then anything else, it'll be oily enough to like not stick. 100%. But it's very salty, and when you bite it, it's very granulated, I guess you could say. Like if you take a bite of crispy Spam or Prem, I'm thinking of Prem when I talk about this because it's a tastier brand for me anyway. If you take a bite of Prem or Spam and you cook it right, it'll be nice and crispy on the outside, and it'll be kind of the same on the inside, but not really. You'll be like, this is kind of like taking a bite of like ham, except my teeth go through it really easy. Like, I know it sounds disgusting to describe, but I don't know. It's just how I feel about it. Like, it tastes really good, but the thought of eating it is kind of disgusting. So you just kind of gotta take it as you get it, right? Like, just eat it and enjoy it, and then don't think about what you're eating, because you're probably eating a lot of parts of the pig you never knew existed. um, Something that I didn't know is when I went to Hawaii last December. Me and my family went to Maui. Um, Spam is really popular in Hawaii. Like every single breakfast place that I went to had Spam on their menu, and I always saw some in their back room as well. Like, because a lot of places have the kitchen visible, and you could see like little tins of Spam back there. So I don't know why Spam is so popular in Hawaii, but it just is. Like, so I don't know. Either way, it's definitely one of life's mysteries. I wonder if I can Google that. Let's see, why is spam popular? Yeah, in Hawaii. There we go. Spam is especially popular in the state of Hawaii, where residents have the highest per capita consumption in the United States. Popular native dish in Hawaii is spam musubi, where spam is placed atop rice and wrapped in a band of nori. Huffington Post had an article in 2012, why is spam so popular in Hawaii? Yeah, there it is, just spam wrapped in rice and nori, which is seaweed, basically. Dried seaweed. Apparently the name Spam is a shortened version of spiced ham. Army soldiers would often refer to it as special army meat. Spam is so popular throughout Hawaii it's been nicknamed the Hawaiian steak, and it's even found on the island's McDonald's and Burger King menus. During the last week of April, the annual Spam Jam takes place in Waikiki. And before taking office, Hawaii's most prominent native son, Barack Obama, surprised reporters when he ordered spam musubi while on vacation in Oahu. Yeah, I don't know. Spam is just really popular in Hawaii. I can't explain it, but it's always there. When I went to Hawaii, I only ever went to the Taco Bell because when I go to the States, I love Taco Bell. So I don't know. I never went to the McDonald's or the Burger King, but anyway. So that's pretty much it for spam. The other things I had to talk about for breakfast meats, and I know it wasn't a very long topic for a discussion because I mean, you can't only talk about so much about meat, but and how they're prepared. Corned beef. I'm not a huge fan of corned beef at all. One of my grandpa's favorite dishes to make for breakfast was corned beef hash. And I'm just not a huge fan of corned beef. Like, it just doesn't taste that great for me, so never had it. I know a lot of people also sometimes do steak and eggs for breakfast. And I wouldn't really consider steak to be a breakfast food per se, because I don't know. I mean, when most people think of steak, they think of like dinner prepared steak with like potatoes and this and that. But steak and eggs is definitely one of those things that you could eat. Like, I don't know how a lot of people prepare it, but I've done it a couple times. You just kind of make some steak, slice it up, put it on a plate, and then throw a fried egg on top and eat it like that. Definitely a lot of protein in there, but yeah, I don't know. I've also done steak with scrambled eggs, just like kind of diced up steak with just throw that in an omelet or whatever like that, or some scrambled eggs. I definitely don't like cooking steak like that because I like steak medium rare, but medium rare steak kind of makes the eggs a little goopy because of the moisture in the meat. So usually whenever I make cook steak for eggs, I usually use kind of a lesser expensive cut of meat, like a I don't know, just like a tougher cut of meat, and then kind of slice it up, pound it and tenderize it, and then slice it up, and then kind of throw it in there. Or you can always do like stir fry strips and stuff like that. But again, unless you drain off some of the meat juices, it gets a little oily. I didn't really have any other meats to talk about because I don't eat a lot of meat for breakfast. For me, it's mostly eggs if I'm doing something like that, or cereals. But I don't really do a lot of cereals these days either. Although for lunch today, I did have my absolute favorite cereal for lunch because I was in the store and I saw it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy this. If you want to figure out what cereal that was, tune in next week because I'm gonna be talking about that one first because it's always a treat because we had it here and then it stopped being sold in stores. Where was it? And then I found it in the States when I went to SGDQ in 2015, And then since then, about a year and a half later, in early 2017, I found that it was actually still sold in the store here, so I buy it every now and again. So, yeah. So, last thing I want to talk about is potatoes. And I don't have any notes that I wrote down pre-show about potatoes because I didn't actually expect to talk about this today. But I thought, you know what, I could only talk about this for like maybe 5-10 minutes max before it eventually gets to the point where I need to stop. Because, first off, I don't enjoy potatoes. Like, there are good ways to make potato dishes, and I think they're really delicious. But for the most part, I don't like potatoes. It's just something that's about me. Again, it's all in preparation. If you like take potatoes, like little new potatoes, like little small little ones, you bake them or you have them for dinner one night with some dill and some olive oil on them. They sure they taste good. Take some of the leftovers, smash them real thin with like a with your hand, just kind of crush them down, throw on some fennel seed, throw on some olive oil and bake them in the oven. Delicious potatoes. Absolutely delicious. One of the things I saw on the Food Network. And I tried it out and it was so good. Scallop potatoes, absolutely delicious. French fries, don't even get me started on French fries. Delicious. In terms of breakfast potatoes, though, there isn't a whole lot of ways to make delicious breakfast potatoes, in my opinion. Because, I mean, there's only two real ways to make breakfast potatoes, in my opinion. First is hash browns. And hash browns are, I mean, it depends on where you come from. If the chunks are a little bigger, some places in the world call them home fries, some places call them hash browns, some places just call them chopped potatoes, whatever. But they're all kind of the same diced up little potatoes. And for me, hash browns are really dry 100% of the time. There is no good way to make a hash brown that isn't just 100% dry. I mean, you can obviously cover the potatoes. Oh, excuse me. You can obviously cover the potatoes in something you're eating, like for example, if you have syrup, you can put some syrup on your potatoes to make them a little sweeter, and then eat them like that. That's fine. You can always throw on a little bit of salt, make your potatoes a little bit salty, and throw that in there. But for the most part, potatoes are just dry, and that's the reason why I don't like them. Uh, the only exception to this is if they're kind of like more of like a French fried diced potato, because then they're kind of oily. If they're fried in oil, they're going to be really crispy and fluffy, and that's why I like them. But if it's just baked or baked or like pan fried potatoes, generally, it's a no-go for me. I will 100% go without potatoes for breakfast. You can also make them good by putting them in like a breakfast casserole, but I probably won't end up talking about that because that doesn't really count for just eating potatoes straight up. The second way that potatoes are done for breakfast, and this is going back to what I was talking about just now, is potato patties. And these are like, like little potato patties that you can buy or you can make them, whatever. But generally they're fried in oil. And the thing about them is, I mean, they're salty, they're delicious, they're good. I mean, whenever I go to like some place like McDonald's, or if I take the ferry over to the mainland, because we have ferries here because I live on an island, um, basically it's like always go for the potato patties because they're always going to be delicious and they're always going to be unhealthy and they're always going to be they're always just going to be really nice. They're going to taste really salty and oily, and it's just perfect. So that's just the way I like to go about that. So I didn't really have anything else to talk about potatoes. Like, it was just something to throw in there because it kind of went along with the theme of meat and eggs. Because, breakfast foods and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I really had to talk talk about meat, or on this week's show. So I guess that's the final split there. So next week, I still haven't decided how I want to do it. At the beginning of the show, I talked about next week's show. It was going to be on cereal. I was going to talk about hot and cold cereal, but I still don't know if that is actually what I was going to talk about, because I don't know how I want to format the show. Because to talk about cereal, I need to... There's a lot of differences between American and Canadian versions of cereal. Like, a lot of things just have like the same ingredients list, but they also have like different boxes and different makeups, and I'm sure some of them have different ingredients. They look similar and they taste similar, but they're kind of different. Like, some might be a little sweeter, some not. I've had some American cereals, and I mean, they're for the most part the same, but you can definitely tell a little bit of a difference. But I mean, it also depends on like what it is too, kind of thing. Just in time for the NBEX. So I don't know if I want to just throw up a bunch of pictures and just go over each individual cereal, but I don't have a lot to say on a whole lot of the cereals, because I mean, I eat a lot of cereal, and I have eaten a lot of cereal, especially as a kid. So I have a lot of opinions on this and that, but there's a lot that I don't. There's a lot of healthier ones that I don't, so um, I don't really know exactly how I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. I'll probably do a bunch of Twitter polls throughout the week, or straw polls, and then I can talk about them and kind of get an idea on how it's going to work. But yeah, for now I'm just kind of sitting on it thinking like, man, it would be really cool to talk about stuff, but I don't really know exactly how I'm going to do it. It's definitely one of those things that would have to be like, I feel like it would have to be more viewer driven, but that doesn't kind of work. So I don't know. I'll probably end up just taking pictures of shelves of cereals, and then kind of go through the list. I wish that we had cereal aisles here like they do in the States, because when I'm in the States and walk around a grocery store, I see a ton of stuff that I've never seen here before. Like, I don't know what you guys have on the regular. Like, this time of year we always get like Frankenberry and Count Chocula and Boo Berry. But those aren't like regular things around here. We also don't have Fruity Pebbles as far as I know. We have I think we have Trix, but I don't think we have Fruity Pebbles. It's been a long time since I've seen those around here. So it's just one of those things. So those are my plans for next week. I don't really know what's going to be going on about that. Uh, I might stream Tui later tonight, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. If you're watching this from YouTube, you can tune into the show whenever, live, 5 p.m. Fridays at twitch.tv/GarageDoorOpener. And if you're watching this from Twitch, you can check out the archives of these in my highlighted past broadcasts, or they're available at youtube.com/GarageDoorOpener with a 0, Garage 0 Penner, or DOOR 0 Penner. So that's it for this week's show. I hope you guys tune in for next week's show when we talk about cereal, and I'll figure out exactly what I'm gonna do. If not, then we're doing it live. I'll just grab some pictures and we can talk about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's show. I am kind of hungry, so I'm gonna go to my kitchen and I'm gonna make some eggs, because talking about eggs and omelets is making me really hungry to go eat some eggs and omelets. So thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the little musical outtake that I do at the end of the show. So see you guys throughout the week.